Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. For Chapter 7 Network Security Part 2, we're going to look at the cryptography and also encryption. Okay, so here are the content for today's topic. First, we're going to look at how to improve the security of the network in terms of data manipulation method. And then we are going to look at the symmetric and also asymmetric key cryptography. And the next method is digital signature. And finally, we're going to look at the encryption in terms of link and also end-to-end encryption. Okay, so to improve security, there are several methods that organization can look into. Okay, first in terms of data manipulation methods. Okay, and the second one is physical methods, and the third one is logistic methods. For the data manipulation method, it is more towards the network level. Okay, for example, there are several things that can be included in the security of the network in terms of encryption, digital signatures, and signature checking on configuration files and programs, as well as packet filtering and also protocol filtering. For the physical methods, okay, it can be in terms of physical access control, means that who can control the network or the access to a certain server, backup strategy, okay, and also separation of network, means and also host without the network connectivity, means that some of the hosts can connect to the certain network and some of the hosts can connect to another network. For the logistic methods, it involve, for example, auditing and also log evaluation, double passwords, okay, before someone can access to information, and selection of operating personnel. Okay, this is more logistic methods that an organization can take in order to make the network secure. Okay. For the data manipulation, okay, we're going to look into details only for this data manipulation. There are several methods that can be considered. First, authentication. Okay, authentication means to prove the identity of the sender to the receiver of a computer network. So it uses encrypted communication for authentication. And for the cryptography or encryption, it can be in terms of symmetric key cryptography, asymmetric key cryptography, hybrid, and also transcender. Okay, so we are going to look at this symmetric and asymmetric shortly after this. And another one is digital signature. Okay, it's going to it is used to check integrity of data and also check the identification of originator. And finally is steganography. It means the information is concealed by covering it with something else instead of encryption. Okay, so only these two we are going to look into details. Okay, so we now look at, remember that our first goal of the security in terms of CIA triad model. So the first goal is confidentiality. Okay, so confidentiality can be achieved using ciphers. Okay, it means the cryptography. Previously, Greek origins means secret writing, this cryptography. Okay, in terms of word Greek, it means that secret writing. It means that it uses keys to encrypt and also decrypt a plain text message. Okay, that's what it means by cryptography. So there are two methods, whether symmetric key encipherment and also asymmetric key encipherment. In the past, this cryptography referred only to this encryption of and decryption of messages using this secret keys. And for today, it is defined involving three different mechanisms: the symmetric key encipherment, asymmetric key encipherment, and also hashing. Okay, hashing is another cryptographic technique in which a message with a fixed length digest is created from a variable length message. Okay, but it is beyond our syllabus. So for our syllabus, we're going to look into symmetric key and also asymmetric key encipherment. Okay, also symmetric key cryptography is also called secret key or private key. Okay, it means that the same key is used by sender to encrypt a plain text and a receiver to decrypt the text. Okay, and the sender uses an encryption algorithm to encrypt data, and the receiver uses the same corresponding decryption algorithm to decrypt the data. So if we look at this example here, okay, in this example, Alice wants to send message to another entity, which is Bob. Okay, so they want to Alice wants to send message to Bob over this insecure channel. Okay, with the assumption that another entity, which is an eavesdropper, okay, let's call her Eve, cannot understand the contents of the message simply by this eavesdropping over the channel. So the original message from Alice to Bob here is called plain text, and the message that is sent through the channel here is called ciphertext. So to create the ciphertext from the plain text, Alice uses an encryption algorithm. So she used this encryption algorithm and then shared a secret key. So this secret key is being sent to Bob using secure key exchange channel. Okay, and to create the plain text from ciphertext here at the receiver, Bob uses a decryption algorithm and also the same shared secret key. Okay, so we refer to encryption and decryption algorithm here as ciphers. Okay, ciphers, ciphers. So a key here is a set of values or numbers that the cipher as an algorithm operates on. Okay, and please note that the symmetric key encipherment here uses a single key. So the key itself may be a set of values for both encryption and also decryption. Okay, in addition, the encryption and also decryption algorithm also are inverse of each other. Okay, example of this encryption algorithm is data encryption standard, or DES. Alright. So this DES is actually a complex block cipher adopted by United States as the standard encryption method for non-classified use. So if the encryption algorithm here uses a combination of addition and also multiplication, the decryption algorithm will use the inverse operation, which is combination of division, which is the inverse of multiplication, and also subtraction, which is the inverse of addition. Okay, so the advantage of using this symmetric key cryptography is it is a fast operation and suitable for mass data encryption. Okay, however, suitable for mass data means that lots of data. However, one key needed for any pair of communication partners. Okay, so it means that lots of keys. If Alice wants to communicate with 100 other entities, so they need like 100 keys. Okay, 100 keys. Okay, to be able to use this symmetric key cryptography, and there is also a risk of key being revealed to this channel. Okay, so we look at another method. Okay, moving on to the next slide, which is a public key encryption or a symmetric key. Okay, recall back that for symmetric key, for a community with a population of 1 million, so symmetric key will require 500 million shared secrets. Okay, as opposed to asymmetric key cryptography, which will require 1 million personal secrets. Okay, so for public key encryption, it uses public key and also secret key, where private key is kept by the receiver, okay, and public key is announced to the public. And public key that is used for encryption is different from the private key that is used for decryption. Okay, so from here we can know the difference between public key encryption, which is asymmetric key, and also the previous method that I have explained, which is symmetric key. Okay, in symmetric key cryptography, the secret must be shared between two persons. However, in asymmetric key cryptography, the secret is personal, unshared, means that each person creates and keeps his or her own secret. And also this asymmetric key, it uses two separate keys, one private, okay, so another one is public. Okay, so that is why I said before that the secret is personal, which is unshared, because each person creates and keep his or her own secret. Okay, so Bob kept his own private key. So if encryption and decryption are thought of as locking and unlocking padlock with keys, that padlock is the padlock that is locked with a public key here, okay, can be unlocked only with the corresponding private key. Okay, so if we look at the example here, the burden of providing security is mostly on the shoulders of the receiver. So means that here Bob needs to create two keys, one private and also another one is public. And also Bob is responsible for distributing the public key to the community, and this can be done through a public key distribution channel. So although this channel is not required to provide secrecy, it must provide authentication and also integrity. And the eavesdropper, for example, here in this case is Eve, should not be able to advertise a public key to the community pretending that it is Bob public key. Okay, so the advantage of this method is it removes restriction of a shared symmetric key, which the key cannot be used to communicate with third party. Okay, so there's no need to share the symmetric key, and also the number of keys needed is reduced tremendously. Okay, because Bob only kept his private key and the encryption is being done using public key. Okay, so again, if you look at this example, Alice can use Bob's public key to send encrypted messages to Bob, okay, which Bob will decrypt the message using his own private key. And if Bob wants to respond to Alice, for example, or wants to send a message to Alice, then Bob needs to use Alice's public key to send that message. Okay, so this also means that Bob needs only one private key to receive all correspondence from anyone in the community. Let's say you wants to send a message to Bob, so Bob still needs the same private key to decrypt that message. However, here Alice needs if she wants to communicate with n public, so she needs n public keys to communicate with n entities in the community. Means that one public key for each entity. Okay, so if I want to communicate with all students in my class, there are 7 students, then I need 7 public keys for each of you. Okay, so in other words, Alice here needs a ring of public keys. Okay, and the disadvantage of this method is complexity increased for long message. Okay, and another way to provide message integrity and also message authentication is by using digital signature. Okay, so it ensures message authentication because the receiver needs to be sure of the sender's identification, and also it provides message integrity because the data must arrive at the receiver exactly as they are sent. Okay, another one is non-repudiation, means that a receiver must be able to prove that a received message comes from a specific sender. So digital signature provides this three security. Okay, authentication, integrity, and also non-repudiation for a message by using a private public keys. So means that when Alice sends a message to Bob, Bob needs to check the authenticity of the sender. He needs to be sure that the message comes from Alice and not Eve. Bob can ask Alice to sign the message electronically, or in other words, an electronic signature can prove the authenticity of Alice as the sender of the message, and this is referred to as digital signature. Okay, so a digital signature needs a public key system. The signer signs with a private key, and the verifier verifies with the signer's public key. Okay, so this is an example of digital signature. So digital signature uses a pair of private and also public keys. Okay, in which sender here, which is Alice, uses her private key on signing the algorithm to sign the message. Okay, so Alice uses her private key on signing algorithm to sign the message, and the message here, M, regarded as M, and also S, which is signature, are sent to the receiver. And the receiver, which is Bob, uses public key in the verifying algorithm to verify the document. And if the result is true, the message is accepted. Otherwise, it is rejected. Okay, so a person who signs the document here to show, it shows that it is originated from her and was approved by her. So that is the purpose of this digital signature. And the signature is proof to the recipient here, which is Bob, that the document comes from the correct entity. Okay, in other words, it's a signature on the document, when verified, is a sign of authentication that the document is authentic. Okay, the next one is the network security. So in order to have network security, we can also perform encryption, okay, in terms of end-to-end encryption and also link encryption. So there are two things that we can do here. First, for the end-to-end encryption, we can put the encryption device, okay, at the end of the communication, which is at the, before it reaches the host. And another one is the link encryption device. Okay, so this is an example of the location of encryption devices in network security. Okay, and encryption is actually the most powerful and also most common approach to countering the threats to network security. Okay, and using this encryption, we need to decide what to encrypt and also where these encryption devices can be located. Okay, with link encryption, each vulnerable communication links here is equipped on both ends with an encryption device. Okay, so each communication link here, each communication link, which is the line here to each of the router here, are equipped at both ends here with the encryption device. Okay, this means that all traffic over all communication links is secured. And although this requires a lot of encryption devices in large network, it provides a high level of security. Okay, so as I said, it requires lots of encryption devices. However, one disadvantage of this approach is that the message must be decrypted at each switch to read address in the packet header for routing. Okay, means that when the message arrives at each of the router here, the message has to be decrypted first, because switch or router here needs to read the address in the packet header so that it knows where to route that packet. Okay, so thus the security is vulnerable at switches. Okay, means at the routers here the security is vulnerable, means that the security there is not that strong because the message has to be decrypted. So this is particularly on public switch network, in which user has no control over security of the nodes, because it belongs to that security of the routers, right? And another one here is encryption, end-to-end encryption. So with this end-to-end encryption, the encryption process is carried out at the two end systems, mean at the sender and also destination. Okay, so if you look at the example, previous example here, we have the encryption device located at the sender and also at the destination. Okay, this is the packet switching network which have all the routers, and the source host or terminal here encrypts the data, and the data in encrypted form then transmitted unaltered, means that it will not be modified across the network to the destination terminal or host. Okay, so the destination shares key with source to decrypt the data, and host can only encrypt user data and not the header. Okay, because otherwise switching nodes could not read header or root packet. It means that here router can still read the header, okay, because it is not encrypted. Okay, because here for the end-to-end encryption, host can encrypt only the user data and not the header. Okay, so this approach would seem to secure the transmission against attacks on the network links or switches. However, the weak spot here is because the host may only encrypt the user data portion, okay, only the user data portion of the packet, and it must leave out the header. It means that the header is not encrypted. Okay, so that because the header is need to be read by the routers in order to be able to perform the routing to the destination. So with this end-to-end encryption, the user data are secured, but not the traffic pattern. Okay, the traffic pattern is not secured. Okay, from someone, for example, that can still monitoring the traffic pattern and knows that the destination or the path that the packet can take. Okay, so because of this, the packet headers, like I said before, is still not secure. Okay, so the best solution is actually to use both link and end-to-end encryption. Okay, so basically this is all about encryption. So we will continue in the next lesson. Thank you.